Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a morning of intense and engaging debates. I hope you enjoyed the sessions today and will be back with us tomorrow to continue to follow our conversations on investing in the future of food, which will be exactly the theme of the second day of the conference. To close our morning discussions, I'm now pleased to invite on stage Dr. Volker Heinz, the Director and CEO of the German Institute of Food Technology, DIL, who will talk to us about the role of innovation and technology in the transformation of the food system. DIL is one of the core partners of EIT Food, and we are grateful for them for their support and contribution to our activities. And I'm very happy to have Volker here with us today. Now, by way of introduction, Volker received his scientific education in food process engineering. During his time as an assistant professor at Technical University of Berlin, which incidentally is also my alma mater, he coordinated numerous EU projects. In 2006, he was appointed Director General at the German Institute of Food Technologies, or Deutsches Institut für Lebensmitteltechnik. He has published more than 200 peer-reviewed papers, book chapters, and books, and is a member of national and international boards and councils. Volker, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Andy, for having me, and thanks to the organizers for converting the last year's Future of Food conference, which has been a tremendous success and had an impact on the perception of strengths and weaknesses of the European food system, into this virtual format. Bringing together stakeholders from science, politics, business is more than ever a necessity, since the pandemic does not put on hold the dynamics we are in, that the pattern we feed ourselves is already at the edge of what our planet can sustain. In the run of the pandemic, we became masters of online video conferences and learned how to deal with the ongoing limitations in physical interactions. But for those who are less blessed with all that kind of IT infrastructure, the pandemic can easily become a life-threatening horror. According to a report of the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, COVID-19 is reversing decades of progress on poverty, healthcare, and education. Almost 100 million people are expected to be pushed back into extreme poverty in 2020, the first rise in global poverty since 1998. Lost income, limited social protection, rising prices mean even those who were previously secure could find themselves at risk of poverty and hunger. It is, of course, clear to experts that many current food systems are unsustainable because they cause significant resource depletion followed by unacceptable environmental impacts. The pandemic highlighted one more time the vulnerability of the poorest on this planet and sadly proved that hunger often is a systems failure rather than a lack of supply. Today we know that the old Malthusian belief that population growth is always outnumbering any attempt of cultivate sufficient food energy for all of us, as well as what appeared to be a cure to that problem, namely the creation of wealth in a work-share economy, only succeeds within the limits of the planetary system. Our failure was to have walked too long on these easy tracks. Too early, we have abandoned nutrient cycles for the sake of higher growth rates, and we energize the system from unsustainable sources, putting burden on climate, biodiversity, and water stocks. A recent paper in Science speaks a clear language. Our food system is in a continued business as usual mode, will make obsolete all other attempts to limit the temperature increase until the end of the century to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And even the 2-degree goal is at threat. Another recent study puts the hidden cost of the global food and land use system at 12 trillion, compared to an annual market value of the agri-food at 10 trillion. Business as usual will bring up these hidden costs to more than 13 trillion by 2030. It looks like still a significant part of the agri-food business, and also the European one, is still on the dark side of the spoon. This doesn't come from pure ignorance, but is a substantial part is due to inherent insufficiencies in the way food and land use systems are financed. Hidden costs of climate-related financial, social, and environmental risks are not part of the bill in the mainstream food system. Finally, a majority of market support mechanisms, such as agricultural subsidies, often fail to incentivize sustainable practices to contribute to positive outcomes for the environment, public health, and animal welfare. I had the privilege to be involved in the process of creating a European knowledge and innovation community for food from early on. And I confess that I'm still enthusiastic about the vision of EIT to put Europe at the center of the global transformation in how food is innovated, produced, valued by the society. However, our discussions of today and the presentations we heard centered around challenges that only few of us may have anticipated when the idea of the food kick was born 10 years ago. The Commission's European Green Deal wants to convert climate environmental changes into opportunities. As still the largest part of the European financial budget, 38%, is transferred into the agri-food system, which brought us, of course, a high degree of self-sufficiency in Europe, but also created 10 to 15% of the total CO2 footprint. There is certainly room for improvement. Other indicators like obesity rate and the number of people in food deserts demonstrate that we need to work on better ways towards a more healthy and sustainable diet. The bottom line of the EU policy for the coming years is no net emissions of greenhouse gases by 2050. Economic growth decoupled from resource use. No person, no place is left behind, which means that a disruptive system change is ahead of us. As with many other previous disruptions throughout history, the new food system will have a significantly different architecture. It will follow different rules and must be understood with different metrics. The disruptions we will face are driven by the convergence of new technologies that trigger causal feedback loops, which accelerate the adoption of new systems and at the same time push part of the existing system into a death spiral. The new food system will have to be based on a near to zero footprint. Lessons on system transitions are learned, for instance, from the information sector, wiping out old industries, but growing into a much larger information economy in that case, and operates at an entirely different principle. In essence, we are thrown back to combining flows of mass, energy, information, and capital in a different way as the ruling economic model does, in a kind of push flow where offer is creating demand. The daily dietary need of mankind of 50 exajoule food energy, 600,000 tons of protein, another 600,000 tons of fat per day, certainly help food industry to be profitable in the business as usual mode. Focusing on what we really need to eat and organizing food systems as a pull flow will for sure have an impact on traditional economic schemes as well. We have to look at the problem from two angles. The production efficiency approach focuses on changing patterns of production and the demand perspective on how to deal with the excessive consumption. The perspective of food system transformation considers both product and consumption in terms of the relationship among actors in the food system and interpreting the problem in terms of inequality and imbalance. This imbalance in relationships gives rise to the twin problem of excess and insufficiency that are played out both in the environment, over as well as under application of agricultural inputs, and in relation to health, which is obesity and hunger. The European Commission also plans to revise the animal welfare legislation, including animal transport and the slaughter of animals. A late but important move, of course, since 15 years after the FAO report on livestock's long shadow has been published. As long as we base our protein supply to 55% on meat and dairy, there is still a 400-pound gorilla standing in the door to sustainability. At least we know where we have to start and change the rules of the game. The forefront of innovation is right there. We need to understand that energy, mobility, urbanity, health, and food are interconnected, and that it needs a dynamic systems approach to come to the right answers. Many of us are trained in specialized scientific fields and not per se ready for these kind of concerted actions. It is really encouraging that the discussions we had today we are driven by the common understanding that there is no time to lose. Thank you for having made the first day of the Future of Food conference a success, also by contributing your thoughts on setting up an agenda for the EU Farm to Fork strategy. I hope to see you all back tomorrow when it will come to the most important question of how we can manage to fix the weaknesses of the current food system and at the same time create opportunities for economical success at all levels of the European agri-food system. Just stay tuned. Thank you.
Volker, thank you very much. And I think that's a great way to wrap up with what has been, as you said, a fantastic day with some really good discussion. So thank you very much for that. Really appreciate you joining us and being with us to close the first day's proceedings. So thank you very much.
Thank you as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And a reminder to everyone that we are back again tomorrow at 9 o'clock CET. We're starting again tomorrow. And the main focus for our plenary sessions is going to be looking at investing in the future of food. So we're starting with a keynote address from keynote interview, I should say, with Paulo de Castro, MEP, starting off the day. We then have 2 plenary sessions focusing, as I said, on investing in the future of food, before we move to our breakout sessions, which are going to be looking at issues around innovation, entrepreneurship, and public engagement. So once again, we'll be starting at 9 o'clock, as I said, so please do come back and join us for that tomorrow. It's just left for me to say a very big thank you to all of our speakers, all of our panelists today, to all of you out there for the fantastic questions and comments that have been coming in from the chat. So we really do appreciate that, and that has been a big part of the discussion. So please make sure you join again and continue with that tomorrow as well. So thanks to everyone. As I said, 9 o'clock tomorrow. Look forward to seeing you back here then. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day, and see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.